episode number 127 of Back in the Closet with the Two Crazy Cat Ladies.
What's
we were
up?
just talking about how we are ready for the cold weather.
I'm ready for some sweaters. I'm ready to put on some flannels, you know what I'm saying?
But by cold weather, we do live in Las Vegas, so cold weather is when it gets to the 60s.
Yeah, that's super chilly.
Which we have a few months before
Gotta
we
put
get
your
there.
socks on, man.
Yeah, we have a few months before we get there. But thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode. It's just me and Adrian today. So Jay Kennedy and Adrian Lefebvre are our star guests. If you guys missed
That's
the
hilarious.
if you guys missed the episode that we did our podcast last week, we interviewed the legendary, the youngest entrepreneur in the pet industry, 15-year-old Ava Dorsey. If you missed that, go back and listen to it. It's absolutely amazing. She is so inspiring and insightful, and she has some words of wisdom for us too. So do go back and watch that. But since that episode,
Ava's Pet Palace. Go check it out. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But
what a rock star.
Since that episode, there have been a few events happening in our lives.
Some events
that have happened in our lives.
Did these events
unexpected events.
Yeah.
That it's really interesting when you live in a household we all have unexpected events that happen, right?
Lots of events happen to lots of people, lots of the time. I think that's
such good.
What happens for lots of people every day are events.
Lots
of events. I think though that we've had a couple stand-up moments. We are gonna. Some of you guys may already know about the scorpion. Some of you guys may already know about the house fire. But I want to talk about some of the more demure events first.
Okay.
And I think that here's something that's really exciting, and we've been talking about this in the brief moments of conversation that we've been able to sneak in.
Over the past
busy
days, but it's very interesting to see how our cats have handled.
Yes, this is
or reacted or responded to these specific events. So we want to kind of bring it together, share with you guys some of the stuff that's going on, but then also talk about cats, of course. Go for the Two Crazy Cat Ladies.
Last night's Q&A with the incredible Dr. Katie Woodley really got us thinking about this topic, because she was saying how many of her clients are dealing with issues over and over again, or any number of issues, and just how much we humans really need to pay attention to how
humans, weren't you?
No, I was going to say fallible. I don't know where that word was coming from, but it didn't feel right to say out loud. But now I have, because Jay thought I was going to say a bad word.
Well, then when you started to say fallible, which I don't know if that's a word, but you're the wordsmith, so it probably is. I thought you were going to say phallic.
Totally different things. Both.
They sound the same.
Both real words, totally different. We're going to go consult Webster's Dictionary after this podcast. However, Dr. Katie Woodley was really talking about how much anything was going on in our lives does affect our cats, whether we realize it or we don't realize it. And I think in any household, right, with the humans, you have to be a little more considerate, because they're going to verbalize when you're doing things that are making them feel stressed, or you're doing things that are making them feel afraid, or you're doing things that are making them feel super uncomfortable in their own space. Have you ever been in one of those situations where the person you're living with is like all of a sudden not talking to you, and it feels like there's nowhere you can go in your own home to feel comfortable, right?
That was Tuesday.
That was Tuesday. True, right? There's nowhere you can go. It's an awful feeling. And I think how many times our cats have gone through that when we didn't even realize it, right? Because they're picking up on something that's going on, that we're so up here in this human element that we're not even realizing how much we're impacting our cats.
But our cats are so much more energetic. They're so much more in tune to energy than we are. Like some of us are very in tune with energy. Some of us are just of other people's energy, right?
Sponges.
Some of us are super sponges. Some of us are
completely oblivious.
Yes, completely oblivious to the energy that's going on around you, to how it's affecting you. Sometimes it is still affecting us if we're allowing that energy around us, but we don't necessarily correlate it. But our cats are so much more evolved than we are. I want to say they are way more evolved than we are as humans. And when there's something going on, you don't have to say a word. You don't have to act a certain way. You don't have to scream. You don't have to cry. You don't have to do anything. And your cats know, right? Just like
And
they know, and this is scientifically proven, they know when you're sick. They
Yep.
know what they need to do to try to help you be sick. You don't have to go
help
and tell
you heal
them.
from being sick.
I mean, help you heal. They know how to make you sick. No, but they know how to help you heal, and that's science, right? And you don't have to tell them that you're sick.
Not a word. And I think it goes back to the more we can understand cats as a species, the more we can better incorporate them into a healthy life with us, because cats evolved to communicate with body language. They evolved to, they meow only to communicate with their humans. It's like their vocalizations amongst each other. Our Cat Behavior Alliance just had a great live on cat vocalizations and what they mean and when you should be concerned and when you should. Amazing. But when we understand that cats are little predators, I remember when Dr. Marcy Koski, the first time we were going through stuff with Pooh Bear, and she blew our minds with, wow, we looked at the whole situation. We were dealing with a cat that was being aggressive, a cat that was peeing in places, loved to poop in front of our front door. He was in good health. He has an autoimmune disease.
I was going to say, this is all one cat.
All one cat. He was in good health. He has an autoimmune disease, but that wasn't affecting necessarily those issues, the aggression and the pooping outside, peeing
Going outside the box.
Right. But it was our first real exploration into what he's going through. And she really blew our minds with better understanding what's going on with him and how cats are little predators, but they're also prey. They're little hunters, and that's what we know about them, but they're also prey, which makes them super vulnerable all the time. Mm-hmm. And if they're in a situation where they're feeling fearful or where they have experienced some sort of insecurity, that it can be really hard to work through that.
And those of us with multiple cats, you'll see that each one is a bit different, right? So cats are stoic. We know that because cats are stoic, they tend to mask their pain, which is why, kidney disease is one of the top killers of our kitties, is because we as pet parents are not taking them to the vet and getting this checked out and being proactive about these things until it's really bad. And then you're like, oh, something's wrong with my cat. Well, they're now in late stages kidney failure. And we had no idea because they masked that pain, but they also mask their stress. Many of them, some of them are just like an open book. And that, wow, they're a really, sensitive kitty. We have some of those that we're like, they're super sensitive kitties. Yeah. And then others are like, I can handle anything. I'm not scared of that vacuum cleaner. I'm not scared of that. But they are masking those. They're still affected. They're just not processing it in the same way that maybe another one. All of our cats are individuals, right? They all have their own personalities, just like us. Yeah. I handle stress in a different way than Adrian handles stress. It's and the same goes for our cats. So, and some of our cats, maybe, you know what? I'm just thinking this. I'm thinking out loud that maybe some of our cats put it in the queue.
Like you do.
Like I do. In fact, I just talked to somebody today, one of our followers, I think it was on Instagram, DM, and they were talking about how, their cat, they just went through, that's right. The cat just went through a change. So her and her partner broke up. She moved out and with her cat into a new apartment. It's just her and her cat. But for the first couple of weeks, the cat seemed absolutely fine. And then all of a sudden they started going outside the box. And it's like, wow. Just now.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Just now I processed that. Maybe they put it in the queue too.
Yeah.
Because of course that's going to cause stress. It's just, and by stress, I feel like stress is a bad word. A simplified word or a bad word, but it's definitely going to be a stressor, right? Anytime moving at all, even if you're super excited about it, it's still, yeah.
Have you guys ever experienced, I remember when the pandemic first hit, I was used to going into work every day. I took the same route every day. And then the pandemic hit, and there was something that I had to go to somewhere else. And it was like, not only have I not been going into the office every day, but now I was going a different route, and oh my God, it was raining. And I just remember it being like, how do people handle real stress? Because it felt so off to me, and it felt so wrong, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
There was nothing stressful about the situation. There was nothing going wrong. There was nothing. It was just that it was out of my ordinary pattern of comfort. And I think we don't always think about how our cats have, we talk about routine and the things that we can do to help alleviate certain stressors, right? Making sure their litter box is clean, their resources are all safe and in places where they feel comfortable accessing them, all of those things, sure. But when there's a change in our life, what does it do to our cats? Because that's also a change for them.
Right.
Whether or not it's changing their routine, it changes the frequencies in the whole situation.
Yes,
Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. So this week has been exciting for us because there's a number of really exciting things that are going on that are causing us to be extra busy.
But also extra stressed and at times extra excited.
Right.
But it's all these emotions happening almost at once, right? For our cats, it probably is happening at once because it's like one moment it's like, and the next moment it's like, yay. And then the next moment it's like, right? And I'll tell you a little bit about those three.
Yeah. And I would really like it if you didn't actually use do a simulation of.
I will. I'll actually let you tell the story.
Okay.
And I'll just tell the erg. So
I'm glad we talked that through.
We're in the process of doing a lot of new, amazingly exciting things, right? For our business, for our lives, for ourselves. We started planning our next vacation, which is going to be in about 6 months. But we just felt the need to.
We decided that we're going to do it.
We decided this weekend that one thing that we really need is to have something to look forward to through all of this stuff that we're going through, right? And I think that's a really important thing for a lot of people, for me specifically, is to be able to have like that light at the end of the tunnel, right? Like, I mean, all the things that we're doing are also going to be lights at the end of the tunnel, but it's a lot of work to get through. And
some people actually put a light at the end of the tunnel every day, like how Dr. Karen Becker's like, you got to meditate. Like that's the light. We're like, no,
just hold your breath and get through the next 6 months.
We're working on it.
We'll always have pockets of joy.
Yeah.
Right. Like we can always count our blessings.
We live in abundant joy.
Right.
We do. But it does feel sometimes that it's overwhelming to navigate the exciting.
Yeah.
And
the exciting and the stressful thing. So for instance, we have a new website that we're building. You just wait for it. It's going to be a minute before it's up, but we are working with an IT team. We're working with a beautiful team that is doing all the coding and all that stuff to like create the website. But we are the content creators, right? We have spent 7 years building over 750, maybe 800 different blogs and pages on our website. And now we're switching it over, which all that information is still going to be there. But we have about 60 plus pages, new pages that's going to be in-depth, serious, amazing information for everyone, for every cat parent, and easy to access. Right. But there's all of this content that we have to now create that's out of the schedule of like our normal content creation kind of thing. And it seems a bit overwhelming. So, at first we're like, this is going to be great. And I got excited building the very first page and then sat down for the second one. And I was like, hey, okay, I can do this. And then we're on like page 3 and I'm like, oh, this is overwhelming. I don't know. Like, yes, I want that end result. I want to have a space online for every cat parent across the nation to be able to go to and get real serious information about their cat's health issue and have all the recommendations of what you can do at home, what you can do for enrichment, what you can do for food, what you can do, all of that, like everything that we've learned, put into a space in which everybody can access that information. And that's going to be so beautiful. But it's a lot of work.
Yeah. And along with all the resources that we've been accumulating over the years that we've learned so much from, I think, it is the epitome of the learn, share, grow, is to really be intentional about curating this content in a way that gives you everything that you would want to find when you land in this space.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting, and it's something that you got to get it right, and you got to get it right the first time, right? So,
you don't have to. There's always editing. Everything can be edited. Sure.
Well, you want to do
just like
best foot forward.
Yes.
We know what we want it to be, and sure, we're going to add to it.
We don't want to half-ass it.
Right. Which comes to Jay has everything in a list, and with like the time, like everything is like
Schedule.
plotted down to the last 15 minutes of every day. Right. So when you have a project like this and you've got your ideal date and then you start working on it, it's like, oh, the ideal date's going to get, is the ideal date going to get pushed or is the content going to suffer? And
Right.
that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So that means something's going to get.
And something has to give.
pushed.
And maybe that means that our normal that we discussed this yesterday. We haven't even discussed it with our team. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But we decided that, or we didn't decide, we haven't actually decided, but we talked about the possibility of basically taking a vacation from everything that we normally put into content creation in a week, which is our Wednesday night lives and our Think About It Thursdays and our podcast right here and
Cat
our
tips
blog
and
writing and our cat
interviews
tips
and-
every day and our interviews and all the stuff that we put into a week, like actually taking a week off, not pushing out any content and literally just getting into like
prepared.
getting like literally putting our mindset into how can we make this information so valuable to so many cat parents that we could save as many cats' lives as possible, right? Like help every cat live the longest, healthiest, happiest life, which is our mission, right? But we want to be able to put it into a place where it's easy for everybody to access. But we have to give something up. We can't. I mean, we were going to just give up our Saturdays. We started doing that, and it's not the same, especially when we had decided at the beginning of this year that we were going to take our weekends off and give ourselves some time because we haven't done that for the past 3 years. So we were like, let's take weekends off and give ourselves some time.
Can you feel
and
this?
then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, but we still, we're still working anyway. Might as well.
Do you feel the stress that's elevating that our cats are picking up on? Yeah, do you feel it? You feel it. You feel it because
No.
we're verbalizing it. But
Yeah.
But I think that it's amazing. Yeah, there's
You're
a lot
sweating.
of things. I'm so hot, you guys. It's so hot. Yes, thank you. I know. I wish we could put a fan on, but she's like, no, it'll be too loud. It's hot in this closet, y'all.
It's actually a gloomy day today, though. It's not as like
It could be a lot
scalding
hotter.
hot as it was yesterday.
That's very true. But I think that it is exciting. We've got a meeting scheduled this weekend, just Jay and I, to go over some of these big items that we really need to wrap our heads around
We got a couple big shows coming up.
and put together a plan of attack. You know what I mean? Like really wrap our heads around it. I think it's so important. Jay was saying she deals with stress so much different than I deal with stress, but we both deal with stress. If we could at least deal with it in the same way, like so that we're both aware of what's actually causing us to be stressed, right?
Yes.
Like just being on the same page. It'll be super helpful.
Yeah.
And then and doing what we can to keep our cats on the same page too.
Right.
I feel like it's been interesting this week. We've got these exciting things going on. We've had some hiccups in life in general that have been stressful or frustrating or very challenging. And navigating that
the product
in the
business
midst of
I'm just going to say the product
It's tough.
business is tough.
it's tough.
It's tough.
And navigating all of that in the midst of just the regular dailiness. We all, like I was saying, you get into a routine, and when there's something outside of that routine, I feel super off about it. Like I just want to go sit in a corner for a minute and kind of wrap my head around it, but there's no time for that. So,
Right.
which is probably what people talk about with the meditation.
But then in the midst of like all of this stuff going on with the huge hiccups in our product, we had to take some products out of stock. We're having some supply issues that are resulting in new
Some frustrations.
sourcing tests, all kinds of stuff. So and like tech issues on the back end when that happens, like we've got our auto ship.
How
So
to
it's like
figure
how do we
out
figure
how
out
to-
how to
yeah.
so there's that. But then all of a sudden the other night, this weekend, the cats are downstairs, I'm upstairs, and I see it's Jack is coming in. It's dark inside, and I'm walking in the foyer area upstairs, and Jack comes around and he does this jerk back. So I know that this is a bug or something on the ground, and I see a scorpion that's like this big.
And she does mean this big.
It's
And
big. It's bigger
it's
than
a foot and a half to Jay, and it's about 2 inches to me.
It's okay. It was about 3 inches. It was definitely a bigger one, which means that it's not as venomous.
Right.
The bigger the scorpion, the less the
The
venomous.
scarier
You
they look,
learn
the less
this
dangerous
living in
they
the
are.
desert.
Right.
But they always freak me out. And I have what I have now deemed, or what is it called when you, deemed, my scorpion voice, right? So when I see one of these things, I uncontrollably scream. And I don't mean I scream in like
horror story,
like temper
scream.
tantrum kind of thing.
Right.
In fact, this time it was because I knew Adrian was downstairs. I screamed scorpion, and at very high pitch, apparently.
Yeah, like
and
a panicked shriek.
And I have to
words.
I have to say out loud or scream out loud, apparently, what I'm doing. I'm killing it. I'm stepping on it with my sandal. Like,
I'm downstairs and I hear literally very loud noises.
But she knows my scorpion voice.
Yeah. So I knew something was very wrong. And everyone but Jack was downstairs with me. And the moment that voice went off, all the other cats, like, you ever seen a cat that gets scared? They just like hunker down to the ground. Like, what is going on?
Yep.
Everything.
Their tails go back.
Their tails get big. It's like, what the hell is happening? Right. So Jay is shrieking upstairs. I do think I make out Scorpion and Killing. And by the time I get upstairs, she is completely frozen in the end motion of a very decisive stomp. Jack is there, very concerned about Mama, and just kind of like wide-eyed Jack, super wide-eyed Jack. And she's
deer in headlights.
Deer in headlights, yeah. And she is not moving, but still quite elevated, right? And she's trying, and she was like, "You got to kill it." And it was confirmed.
I said, I think I killed it.
I think I killed it, yeah. So she is trying to wiggle without moving much. She's trying to wiggle her foot out of her flip-flop. And then she proceeds to stand there like a flamingo, like on the one foot that has a flip-flop on. She takes the one that has hopefully killed the scorpion, and she has that
I put my bare foot onto my crotch, right?
Right. Like she just sticks her leg up and she's standing there like a flamingo. It's very impressive. It wasn't such a scary situation. I grab the flip-flop and pick it up slowly, and there's no scorpion underneath. And then I flip it over, and there's that poor little flat sucker.
Scorpion.
Dead. So I go to dispose of the scorpion. The days of us catching and releasing scorpions ended when I got stung by one, and when we realized that cats are actually not immune to scorpion bites.
We think we've read that they're not immune, but I do have to say I've seen them smack at them and play with them.
It's remarkable
and they've yet to be stung. So I'm not. Yeah,
I feel like we would know it.
Anyway, we don't want to chance it though.
We don't, and it's kind of like this. We try to tell them when we're, do not come into our house because now we will have to kill you. I don't care what your friend who got caught in a little glass with a piece of paper told you, but man, you will not live if you come in here. So I'm trying to dispose of the scorpion, and it's apparently taking too long because I decided that I was going to flush it down the toilet, and apparently that freaks out a lot of people, but I was going to flush it down the toilet instead of trying to peel it off. I just kind of whacked it into the toilet, which took a little bit of time. And Jay's standing out there like,
here's the guy, like step by step.
And Jay's like, I can't move. I can't move until I have my flip-flop back.
I'm not going to step on another one if his little friend's around.
And I said when I brought the flip-flop back, I was like, baby, you really need to tone it down. All of the babies are super freaked out right now. Like, we need to go explain to everybody what happened, take it down a notch. And she said,
I cannot control my scorpion voice.
Fact.
So now it is deemed that I do have a scorpion voice. And I want to say it does affect our cats. When we get freaked out about something, it does affect our cats, right? That doesn't mean that we're going to judge you, or I should be judged for having a scorpion voice or a spider voice or a snake voice or a lizard voice. Like if you have a reaction,
cute, though. You like lizards.
If you have a reaction to a bug or an animal or a mouse or something in your house, then you are 100% like justified in having that. Just realize that it does affect your cats. That energy in that moment, or those noises, or whatever it is, that will affect your cats. And so the follow-up needs to be maybe herbal, maybe for both you and your
calming herbs for our
put down
babies.
some calming herbs, or talk them through it. Tell them, Mama just saw a scorpion. Mama just saw a spider. Mama just killed that spider, so that spider doesn't kill you. And we are okay now. Mama took care of it. I'm sorry that I was loud.
I do think we had a pretty good giggle fest. I don't know if it was you standing there like a flamingo, or the threat being eliminated, or Jack's face, but we had a pretty good little giggle fest after that. And we did go around to each of the cats and make sure everyone was okay. And also, I think it's so important because they do pick up on your energy. So whatever it was, I remember Friday's face was like, "Why are you coming at me?" And we're trying to explain to her what's going on, and it actually works. She was so excited and chirpy and like totally back.
Everything's back to normal.
Now, had we just gone to bed and not
a day later, we had another very serious event where there was a fire in our house. That happened, and our cats also. It was a very similar type experience, except they were involved in it. So because they were affected by it, it wasn't just like mama screaming and stepped on a scorpion. It was, and what the hell's happening? It was, the house is full of smoke. Run, get away. What's going on? Right. And there was an elevated voice, but not that kind
it wasn't.
My fire voice is different from my scorpion
voice.
It's
a very stern voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a very stern voice.
It was a very serious voice. Yeah.
It was more declarative.
It was
very.
So what had happened was, let me tell you. So what had happened was, I was going to make some pizzas. I opened the oven. I realized the rack is in the wrong place, so I need to homemade pizzas. So I realized the rack's in the wrong place. I get my favorite
after the oven had already preheated.
Right, after it was already preheated. So I get the oven mitt and I move the rack and I place the oven mitt on the oven door that I had just pulled down. Then I am going to put the pizzas in the oven. I put them in. I did not need the mitt anymore like I usually do, which is the only reason I would put it down is because I'm going to grab it again. But I didn't need it. So I put it in the oven. I closed the door with the oven mitt on the door. So the oven mitt goes into the oven with the pizzas.
Not a word was said. I'm feeding the cats at this point. Jay is cleaning up the kitchen.
Luckily, we're both in the kitchen.
We're both right there. Thank God.
Yes.
And not a word was said.
But we both had this smell, and I was like, I thought it smelled like gasoline. I was like, what? And then I thought it was the bag of food that I was putting away. I was like, why does that smell like gasoline? Like we're about to eat that. What is wrong? And it just all happens in like maybe 2 minutes or something.
Oh, like 30
and
seconds.
Then like a very short amount of time. I turn around and Adrian did you see, actually, I never asked you this. Did you see the flames through the oven window or not until you opened it?
Right. And I think, honestly, it was smoke? Such a whoosh. I started seeing smoke coming out of it. And I thought it was
the grease from the pulled pork that I had made for the weekend for our friend's barbecue.
So I didn't see anything but a little bit of smoke coming out. And I went to open it. I think just that burst of oxygen. When I opened that oven, y'all, those flames were huge. They were coming up past the oven, like not quite to the top of the couch. They weren't hitting the ceiling, but they were huge. And Jay sees at the same time, and she very declaratively and loudly says, "Fire! Extinguisher!"
And I go running to get the extinguisher. Right
now, it's worth noting that in that moment of panic, that I blew on in hindsight, I'm glad I did. I blew on the fire.
30 seconds.
Right? Because I thought it was something on the bottom of the oven that was on fire. I didn't realize the oven mitt was still in there. Neither one of us did.
Nope.
Right? So I opened it up, big whoosh of flames. I blow on the fire and I start running to the sink because you instinctively think you're going to get water. I'm thinking if it's a grease fire, no. And then I was like, there was something down there. And I grabbed the other oven mitt, and sure enough, it was this melting
silicone
oven mitt.
Right.
And it's worth mentioning too that we do have a fire extinguisher in the kitchen.
Yeah, but I was going running to the garage because I was panicking, and that's where the first one that I pictured, because I don't see the one in the kitchen under the sink very often, but I always see the one in the garage. Right. Yeah. So that's what I was thinking. But I didn't even get there before she's grabbing it and putting it in the sink. And then the house goes up in smoke, right? So,
oh my God,
so the fire's out. Smoke. Thank God the fire's out. But the amount of smoke and smell was horrific. And all the cats are just like, some of the cats saw the fire and ran. Some of the cats had no idea, but smelled the smoke. And like our cats have a smell sensors that are like 14 times and they say 14 times is what I read, but I feel like it's even more than that of a human, right? So when you smell something, they smell it 10 times more, right? Like, or 14 times more, or 100 times more. It's way stronger to them. And that was a really strong smell. They all went running upstairs to get away from the smoke. They were in here in the closet. They were in our bedroom.
It's
We
like the
opened
only place
every
you couldn't
window.
smell smoke yet.
Yeah, we opened every window. We pulled out every fan. We turned on the ACs on high to just circulate the air to get the toxins out of the air so that our babies weren't breathing it in. It was quite an event I mean, it probably took
Everyone.
about an hour
Yeah.
to get all the smoke out. And thank God. I mean, the universe is so good to us because it has just been ratchet, like horrible weather lately, right? Like, I mean, in my opinion,
Super
like
hot, super
humid,
gross.
hot, gross, sticky. Like it's not been great. And we opened up all those windows, and that night the humidity dropped, and even a cool breeze started coming through, and all of a sudden it was like easy to get all of the smoke out of the
house. It was
house.
Incredible to see, though. I mean, the level of smoke it made your eyes burn, made the throat burn. I can't even imagine our babies. I'm glad that it mainly was going up because they were not they were up in it, and they all instinctively came up here. But man, we opened up our patio door, one of the biggest windows we have, closed a screen, and we brought a fan and put it right in front of it. And once we had come upstairs and checked on all the babies, went downstairs, and you could see that smoke moving out from that fan. It was so thick, you could just see it slowly moving out. And the next day, when we switched out our air filters
for our air conditioning units.
Holy cow.
My goodness, they were black. It was like, wow, that's some seriousness. But we also learned that lesson learned, right? Don't put your oven mitt in the oven. Just don't do that. The other lesson is we found out one thing that did not happen, which in hindsight for this specific issue, I'm actually glad, right? But our smoke alarms did not go off. And we realized that we haven't even thought about our smoke alarms in, I don't know, 9 years. So our smoke alarms don't work, which is now what one of our tasks on our list is to go get and install smoke alarms in the house. But that was another lesson learned, right? And once it was done,
didn't go off.
We all got snuggled together because they were upstairs. So we're like, let's just get in the bed. Let's just watch some movies. Let's have a good time. And they were like, oh, thanks for opening the windows. You haven't opened the windows for months because it's so stupid hot outside. And so they were like, oh, we have windows and some fresh air. And it was like, it calmed it down.
It did calm it down. And the reason that we were talking about, you were making our dinner, I was making their dinner. So all that hit before anyone had dinner. We obviously lost our pizzas and our appetite with all the chaos.
Yeah.
And our babies were still waiting for dinner. So it takes like a good hour for all this to kind of calm down. So it was another one of those situations.
I think their food was also contaminated by the smoke because nobody wanted to eat that night either.
Well,
so we just didn't eat. We're like, we'll fast together.
We're fasting. No, we did have, kind of that moment where we were checking in with everybody. We did bring everyone's dinner upstairs. And over time, I think most everyone had at least a couple bites. Maybe it did smell a little smoky and they were like, yuck. But it was also a great lesson too in making sure everyone is acknowledged in a situation that could be scary, that everyone is found, that it's, that everyone knows everything's okay, that they're sure they get our energy. And obviously the smoked out house with something like that is going wrong, but then also to remember to give them the energy of this has been resolved. Everyone's okay. How are you?
Yes.
Right. Makes a big difference. And we did have a great snuggle night that night.
Yeah.
All the babies loved the windows.
Yeah. It turned out to be a nice evening after all the debacles happened. But, it's just, I think the takeaway here is we can't prevent stressful events, right? Like there's stuff that's going to happen, whether it's a scorpion, whether it's a fire, whether it's a spider, whether it's
a stressful situation,
a move,
unexpected.
There's a lot of things that we can't prevent, but what we can do is be proactive and also be proactive as in like, let's get fire or let's be get fire alarms, but also be mindful of how these stressful events that didn't necessarily happen to our cats, right? It didn't like that scorpion didn't happen to our cats. It happened to me, right? I mean, basically the stressful part, it's
They
just a
didn't know.
fun toy for them. Right. For me, it happened to me, right? The fire happened to us, right? It wasn't their event, their stressful event, but they take on that energy of whatever that is. So we have to do our best to handle the situation and then calm everyone down, including ourselves. If we can calm ourselves down, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to calm down our cats.
Well, and I do have to say, I think it was very helpful for both of us to genuinely, because you can't fool cats. So from both of those situations, and even like the kind of frustrating hiccups or challenges we've run into that have been a little stressful this week, to genuinely try to calm down before approaching. And, you know, instead of being like, oh my God, that was so stressful. Are you okay? No, that's stressful for a cat.
Right.
Right? Like to genuinely calm down and be like, oh, that was an adventure.
Yeah.
Like, we can't fool cats.
Nope.
We just can't. You can't lie to them.
There you go. You
They're
can't
gonna
fool
know.
a cat. That's what I'm going to name this podcast.
They're going to know. So it's a great reminder to all of us that we do have to take. What did Dr. Katie say last night? She was like, yeah, sometimes when things get really stressful, it's like, oh, I'm fine. And we all know what that means. That just means I'm stressed. It's going to be fine. But I am very stressed.
Yeah.
I'm stressed. Instead of that, and because cats pick up on that, instead of that, taking a minute to genuinely calm ourselves so that we are being authentic with our cats, because that's all they really understand.
Yes. So that's going to wrap up.
That's it.
Episode number 127 of Back in the Closet with the Two Crazy Cat Ladies.
We
Thanks so
survived
much for
another
listening.
week.
We survived another week, even scorpions and fire and all. So we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again next week.
Mwah. Bye, y'all. Happy Thursday.